every time I talk to someone who's in corporate America or in a business, say, "Oh, I can't wait till I can get out of there."
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
One of the sessions that I just did just before Christmas was actually with Seton Healthcare. And it was their statewide meeting, stuff like that. And one of the people that came up and spoke was a head ER nurse for Seton Hospitals, I guess, in like Minnesota or something like that.
Jeez.
And she was sharing a story, and her whole thing was like, listen, I, like anybody that knows me and has been in the administration knows I am the hardest nut to crack out there. And I am probably like the most negative person in the world because there's a bunch of horse crap that we have to put up with every day in this job.
Yeah.
And if they would just let me do my job, I could save people's lives. Just leave me alone, you know. And she was like, but what we have to consider is that goes directly into our customer service. That attitude when you come in, like whenever you walk in and your friend who's clocking, you know, as you cross paths, like, hey, Sam, hey, Ralph, you know, like in Looney Tunes, and Sam's like, hey, man, watch out. It's a war zone in there. It's going to be friggin' horrifying. It immediately sets up your brain for bad things happening.
Right.
Yeah.
It immediately puts you into a zone of defense instead of going in with possibly a good attitude. Maybe you've had a great day. Now somebody's totally come in with negativity, and that negativity feeds on itself. You know, and
and especially in a place where you're supposed to be taking care of people
exactly.
who are critically ill.
But the thing is, and that's the thing, even in corporate America, even outside of a hospital zone, even outside of a stage, even in corporate America, when you're on a team, you're supposed to be taking care of each other. It's not supposed to be the competition. It's not supposed to be one side trying to outdo the other. It's supposed to be a bunch of horses pulling the cart equally, you know. And it really does. It you know, boil down to people trying to actively give of themselves and you know, try to be positive.
Yeah, do you have like major explosions? Do you have like guys that, or do you have you ever had a situation where it just wasn't going to work out, you know? You know what I mean? I'm trying to put it, like, I guess, as politely as possible. Have you ever had just people that are just like, nope, no team building for me. This isn't what I want to do. Yeah, a lot of pushback.
Yeah, and I've even, when I've worked in businesses, you know, the person setting up the team building will say, you know, hey, what if, you know, how are we going to get them all to participate, or how are we going to get them all on board? And, you know, I tell them just like with real life, you know, there are people that are the doers. They're the action takers at first, and they're the ones that are going to jump up and participate. And just because they're not opening their mouths or they're not physically in things doesn't mean they're not learning. Right? Doesn't mean they're not participating. They participate in their own way.
Sure.
And, you know, when my husband and I we taught improv and had our improv classes. And, you know, in theater, you're even taught, you know, don't play to the grump in the front row.
Yeah.
You know, he'll suck every bit of your energy out of your body, he or she. So you play with the people that will play. And don't worry about the rest of them, because the truth of the matter is if they are on board, they're going to play to the extent that they're comfortable playing. You know, I did a staff development day for a school for teachers, and it was a very specialized school. And there was one of the people in the room who would not, she was not picking up what I was putting down so much, you know, and she was just really, like you were saying, dug her heels in on a situation. And that was, that was in September, and she's no longer there.
Yeah.
Are you there?
Did we lose her?
Uh-oh.
Hi.
We lost you.
Sorry, not sure what happened there.
I know the call just dropped. I don't.
Yeah, you were mid-sentence, and we thought you were just really being pensive.
We
we were like, wow, this is a really deep point that she's making.
Yeah.
And then we were like, Donna?
You know, all these errors are
so deep.
all these little flubs are a little extra embarrassing just because you're a communications expert and we are having so much issue communicating with you right now.
I think we can kind of shed ourselves of that one because of the airwaves. It's just kind of like.
So.
Well, no, okay, just to sort of connect this to what we're talking about in a real way, which is, I think the airwaves that we are currently trying to, use to communicate right now are the same kinds of, full airwaves that we have to deal with when we're, trying to communicate with each other in the real world.
Nailed it.
Our brains are going with 1,000 thoughts. It's like, what am I going to do in a minute? What's my agenda for the day? What do I have to accomplish? And also, my phone's buzzing. I got that message. I got this text. I got this email. Not only is that happening in our minds, but right now, even just all the technology that we deal with every single day is just floating around us in these invisible airwaves messing with us. So it's the phone issues we're having and the real life situations that we're trying to help people solve are connected in a real way. It's just allegorical working together.
People are going to have podcasts along one day because of all the breathing in all of this information around them all the time. It's going to.
I wonder, in a few years, what legitimate health ailments will happen based on the fact that we've all had cell phones around us, for real.
Yeah, I think they're already theorizing.
Oh,
that's why some people put certain. Crystals and stones on their phone to keep the radio waves off the brain, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
amethyst.
It's really too the other thing about all the overwhelming information and ways of communication right now speaks to the fact that scientists are saying now that our brains. There is no such thing as multitasking.
No.
Oh, yeah,
you can't do it.
That's why your phone is there now.
Yeah. So it's like you're only processing one thing at a time anyway.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so you can't, all this, I'm so good at multitasking is a bunch of horse manure. Because it's like.
We don't really call on ourselves to remember things anymore either. That's
No.
I have a huge push on. I don't want people to Google something if I'm in a conversation and nobody can remember the name of a person or think of the word.
Just let it ride, man.
I get it. I can get there because my brain used to do it all the time. Phone numbers. I used to have every family member's phone number memorized, and now I have 3.
Well, and it's
I have one.
It's interesting.
They know who they are.
I'd like to ask you a question, if I could, Donna, because you've of course been doing what back in the day, of course, when you were in college, was the experimental, which has now become kind of the norm as far as comedy goes and stuff, and even theater. Improv theater and things like that were really just kind of getting their foothold when you were in college, and. How have you seen, not only as a person of communication, but just in society in general, how have you seen the means and the memes of communication change in society, and how have you actually adapted yourself to that over the years?
Well, I love to communicate. So any way that I can do that, I do it. I mean, even with my husband, he was saying, with our kids, well, they won't answer the phone. I said, well, sweetie, you have to text.
Yeah.
What do you mean I have to text? Well, if you want them to answer you, you have to text, right? You have to communicate in the way that they want to communicate.
Yeah.
It's just like a lot of people say, oh, well, so-and-so hasn't called me in ages. Well, if you're the one that wants to communicate, communicate.
Absolutely.
Pick up the phone and do it. Go email, go, Facebook. I mean, I have an 87-year-old father who can Facebook instant message.
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
Absolutely.
You know.
Yeah, my mom can too, but she can technically.
Yeah.
She can.
Not all of
I'm
she
bad
can
at it
well.
too, though. I hate it.
I love her. She's one of the only listeners
No.
to this podcast, so Mom,
Thanks,
I love
Mom.
you to death.
Thanks,
You're doing
Mom.
great.
Yeah.
Calm down.
So,
Number
I
one
mean,
listener.
I
Calm down.
noticed that there,
Don't
you
need
know,
all caps.
it just, you know, there's some people that like to communicate different ways. And
Yeah.
do I feel overwhelmed by it sometimes? Yes.
Well, and because I mean,
Yeah.
even I'm a child of the late '70s. You know, I'm 41 years old, and even I had an Atari 2600. I rode my bicycle. You know, and
Yes.
even for me, as someone who grew up with that as a norm, you know, the Atari was brand new whenever I got it. But to see now that we have a microcomputer in our hand, to see now that our memes, and like I said, our memes of communication, the things that we do to trigger things, stuff like that. I mean, how have you, I guess, seen that evolve, and how have you evolved yourself to be able to actually utilize what you used to do and grow it to be able to be relevant today?
Well, I mean, I experiment with it. Like, I'm older than you by 20 years.
Sure.
Right? So I was around when there wasn't any computer. I mean, I was around when I was growing up. There were party lines on telephone lines, right? So if you wanted to talk with someone, you either called them on your rotary phone or you walked down the street.
Yeah.
Right? Or you rode your bike. So I love the fact. I mean, I think that I've adapted pretty well. I know some people who haven't. You know, they just refuse. They say, not doing it. And I really love the fact that, you know, you can communicate so many different ways with so many different people and experience so many different things. So I'm on my phone, on my computer, on, you know, everything I can be on.
See,
really.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that actually I hate talking on the phone. Not right now. This is fun. What we're doing right now is great. But like I hate having like long conversations on the phone, like the kind like my mom used to have on like Saturday afternoons. Yeah. You know, in the kitchen by the wall. Phones are walkie talkies. Phones are walkie talkies to me for the most part. Like, let's get the information. And I like talking to people face to face. I'm restless talking on the phone. So like that's more just, I think that's me being right there at the end of the landline era. And because normally, I mean, when I was a kid, you weren't universally communicable. People couldn't just always get a hold of you no matter where you were. My mom gave me a beeper. But
oh my God.
It was cute.
Beepers.
Yeah, I had a pager when I was like in 5th grade, like an idiot.
Wow.
But yeah, you had to be by the one phone that you have. That, you know, somebody has to go get a giant book to look up how to get to that phone. You know, like it was a complicated process. So
and you know, too, I like to unplug every once in a while.
Oh yeah.
Also, because it's like, okay, I just want the stimulation to stop. You know, the overstimulation. Okay, let's just breathe. And I know I have trouble sometimes in my business, and I guess this is the one hurdle that I really have to figure out in my business of this virtual age is because my work is so experiential, like the ultimate is being person to person. You know, you can do it over Zoom video, you know, that kind of thing. You can do that. And I prefer the person to person. And it's like, okay, well, a webinar or a training video, I don't really think that's going to do anything. And maybe it will. You know, maybe I have the old-fashioned perspective. Maybe it will, and I'm willing to try it.
A training video could be fun, though.
I really think that like some messages that you have could be communicated with a training video, But I actually truly believe that in the interest of when you're talking about speaking to people about their individual needs and their individual motivations for developing their brand or developing the work that they're doing, you need to feel their vibe in a way